Hey guys, this is Mr. Davis. In this video, we're going to talk about a couple basics when it comes to graphing. While we're going through this video, you're going to want to hit pause so that you can try to practice on your own, and then I'll go through it and we can see whether or not you understood or not. Make sure you got headphones in, and make sure that the headphones are plugged into the iPad so that no one else has to hear my terribly ugly voice. Ready? Let's get going. First thing we're going to do is plotting points. Now this might be really easy for you. This might be really hard for you. It's all good. Let's just see where you're at and go from there. So the first point I'm going to plot is going to be point J. And I'm going to call that point 2, 5. 2, 5. So in order to plot points, we need to understand what in the world this thing is saying right here. What does that mean? Well, our first value here, the 2, that is where we put the x-coordinate, x. The x-coordinate is the horizontal location. Horizontal means going from left to right. So this line going from left to right is my horizontal location, or my x-axis. The second number is the y-coordinate. The y is the vertical location, the up and down, the vertical location, or the red line that I've drawn. So all that we're going to do here is we're going to go to 2 on my x-axis, 2. We start here in the middle, that's called the origin if you remember from 6th grade, and we're going to bounce over 2 spots to the x-axis. 2 spots on the x-axis gives me this location. Now I'm going to draw dots in at that location. You do not need to draw the dots in. In fact, grown-up math people never draw the dots. But I'm going to draw the dots so that you can follow along. The next number I see is 5 on my y-axis. My vertical location is 5. So again, I start here at the origin and I count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots. And that is where I'm going to do my red dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots. There's my red dots, my horizontal location. The point 2, 5 is where the blue line and that red line intersect. Right there is point J. I'm going to draw the point in and label it J. Now again, you see all of this extra math is stuff that you can just do in your head. Grown-up math people do not ever do all of that work because it just takes way too much time. They just kind of move on from it and they do it in their head. Maybe they use their fingers in order to put that together. Let's do one more. Let's do point K this time, and point K is going to be the location -1, -3. -1, -3 is point K. So again, I'm going to go over to -1 on my x-axis. -1 on my x-axis. I start here in the middle, and I go 1 to the left, and I get right there. That's -1 on my x-axis, and I'm going to go ahead and draw some blue dots. Hey, do you need to draw blue dots? Nope. In fact, I don't want you to draw the blue dots. I'm just doing that so you can follow along. You should just do that with your brain. Don't actually draw it. Right here I've got -3. -3 is my vertical location, -3. So I'm going to start here in the middle again, go down 3, and this is where I'm going to draw my red dots. Are you going to draw red dots? Good, you're not, because that would be weird. Don't draw the red dots. Be grown up. I'm just doing it for your benefit. That's where I draw my red dots. And right where those 2 dots intersect is where I put my point. And this is point K. Point K. Alright, let's give you a shot. I want you to take a minute or two and graph these points. Point A, 2, 4. Point B, 3, -2. Point C, -5, 1. Point D, 0, -3. Go ahead and hit pause. In just a few seconds, I will give you a hint. So if you need a hint, you can hit play and you can hear the hint. And then you can hit pause again. Go ahead and pause now. Alright, so let's go ahead and go through our hint. The first thing that we're going to do is make sure that we know our X and our Y. The X is the first letter. The Y is the second letter. So each of these points is X comma, y. Kind of like it's in alphabetical order. X, comma, y. So 2, for point A, the 2 right here, the point 2 is an x value. And it's the location here on the x-axis, right there, all the way up and down. And the 4 is the vertical location. So start in the middle, go up 4, and here's the point all the way across. Where those 2 points meet, right there, is where point A goes. Go ahead and keep going and see if you can do it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put these points up there now. Let's see if you got them right, or let's see if you got them wrong. I'm going to do it in yellow. Point A, 2, comma 4. So 2 and 4. Right here is point A. Remember, you do not need to put those dots in. I don't want you to put those dots in. B is 3, dot, 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 dot. Negative 2, dot, 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 dot. Right here is point B. I'm drawing dots. You should not be drawing the dots. Hey, have I said that enough times yet? Well, guess what? I'm going to say it more. Next is C. C is negative 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 5 on my X value. And let's do a little bit of erasing so as not to confuse it with that. And negative 1 on my Y value. Negative 1 on my Y. Right there is point C. I want to point something out. Do you see how I have all of these dots now and how confusing it is? Yeah, don't put dots on your paper unless you're marking the point. I'm putting the dots to help you see it, but you don't need to. Grown-up math people don't put the dots on their paper. Last point is D, 0, comma, negative 3. 0 is actually right there, so I can just start there and then go down 3 spots, and there is where point C is going to be. Let's erase the work I don't need to show, and let's go ahead and write in point D. Did you get those right? Cool. Did you get them wrong? That's okay. Go back and try it again. If you got it right, let's go ahead and move on to the next section. Alright, we're going to substitute into a table in order to graph this equation. This equation is y equals 3x. So let's start by drawing our table. The table is sometimes called the T chart in 7th grade and in 6th grade. I just like calling it a table. I don't like having a special name for each one. All T-charts are a type of table. There's a lot of different types of table, and I'm just too lazy to call each one by its special name. So in my class, we're going to call this a table. Cool? Cool. All right, let's do it. So in my T-chart, my table, I've got an X side and I've got a Y side. X is the number that you control. I have all the power over the X values. So I can choose any number I want for X. So let's choose one. You have one in mind? Hey, so do I. I'm going to choose the number 1. My X is going to be 1, which means right here, I'm going to substitute the number 1. And we're going to write that over again. Y equals 3, but instead of X, I chose the number 1. So parentheses 1, close the parentheses. Y equals 3 times 1. Well, what's 3 times 1? 3. That means Y equals 3. I choose X, I end up with Y. When I choose X to be 1, Y ends up being 3. Do you see all of this work that I've done? All of that work should always be shown whenever you substitute into a table. All of it needs to be shown. And because you've got a lot more room than I do, none of it should ever be erased. I'm going to erase because I don't have as much room as you. You don't erase, just me. Oop, I erased too much, so I better write some of that sucker back in. Let's write it back in real quick. And let's see, hold on, I gotta get the right color. And let's see, y equals, 3x. Alright, cool. Y equals 3x. Let's do this again. This time let's choose x to be a different number. How about we choose it to be negative 2? Yeah, it can be negative 2. Does it have to be negative 2? Absolutely not. It doesn't have to be negative 2. For some reason, I wrote those way too light. Let's make them darker. So x is now negative 2, which means up here, instead of an x value, I'm going to have it be negative 2. Y, there we go, y equals 3, parentheses, negative 2. Close the parentheses. Well, what's 3 times negative 2? Do you guys remember how to do a positive times a negative from 7th grade? Well, let's see. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. So whenever x is negative 2, my y is negative 6. Whenever you do substitution into a table in my class, you're going to do 4 entries. 4 of them. 4 of them. That's right. How many? Good job. 4 of them. So I'm going to erase, and I'm actually going to graph the 2 that I've done. How many do you have to do? Yeah, 4. So I'm going to graph the 2 that I have done and finish up this problem. My first one was 1, 3 over 1 up 3. That's my first point. My second point was negative 2, negative 6. Left 2, down 6. And that's my next point. Now, whenever we're graphing and we have an equation, we know that equations are often straight lines. This one definitely is. It's a linear equation, which means I can put a line that goes through those 2 points. Your line might not be as straight as mine because you don't have a computer to help you. All right, let's give you guys a shot to do this. Here's your math problem. Create a table and graph y equals 2x. Go. Did you hit pause? Hit pause. Alright, so let's give you your hint. Ready? We're going to create a table, and on the left is going to be x, and on the right is going to be y. X values you can choose. So what number do you want to choose? Often students will choose number 1, 2, 3, and 4 because those are pretty small numbers. But you don't have to choose positive numbers. You could do negative 1, 0, positive 1, and 2. You have complete control over x. You choose x, you end up with y. Alright, let's go through the problem now. I'm going to use negative 1. So instead of x, I've got negative 1, and I think y equals 2 times negative 1. What's 2 times negative 1? Well, that's negative 2. Now I've got 0. Y equals 0. Oops, I apologize. I did that wrong. Y equals 2 times 0. What's 2 times 0? 0. Now let's do this 1. Y equals 2 times 1. What's 2 times 1? 2. And y equals 2 times 2. And what's 2 times 2? 4. I've got my points, so now let's graph them. I'm going to erase so that I've got room. You should never erase on your paper because I want to see all of the beautiful math work that you do. Remember, I'm a huge geek, and I love looking at math. I know, it's weird. Somehow I got married. So let's do this. So x is negative 1, y is negative 2. Over to the left 1, down 2, there's my first dot. 0, 0, well, that's really easy. That's just the origin. X is 1, y is 2. So 1 over to the right 1 and up 2. Ooh, do you see how these are lining up? Oh, this is going to be so cool. X is 2, so 2 to the right. Y is 4, up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Those are all in a beautiful line because this is an equation. It's a linear equation. Linear is a fancy way of saying it's going to line up. Let's go ahead and draw that line. I sketched it by hand, so it's super ugly. Trying to make it somewhat pretty, so I'm going to make it prettier. Let's hit undo, and let's do this. Make it prettier. Oh, geez. Oh, work of art. And I'm done. Did you get the right answer? If you didn't, rewind and try the problem again. See you guys.